everybody. Hi, it's Becky from Power Tools with Thread. I've got a great little tutorial for you today. I'm going to be making series 2 from Designs by JuJu's Potholders, and this is the one that has the red work up in the top. Now, I did a design manipulation on this using Embrilliance Essentials to change out the stitches from one potholder to another. And if you want to see how that was done, I will attach that step-by-step tutorial portion at the end of this video when we get done making the potholder. So Embrilliance is a wonderful third-party software that works with every single kind of home embroidery machine. You install it on your computer, it doesn't go on your machine at all, and you can manipulate designs to your heart's content in Embrilliance on your laptop or your desktop computer, and you can then save the design in your machine's file format on a USB stick or send it wirelessly to your machine, which is what I did in this particular video. So anyway, let's get started on these little potholders. These potholders are awesome. I've already made, let's see, this is set 2. So I've already made a couple from set 1. Hold on. These are from set 2. I made these earlier from set 1. And I will link to that video as well so you can take a look at that. You guys, these are great. I love the weight of them. I'm using these already constantly, and they are easy to bend and use. They have Embrilliance inside of them, and you can use either Embrilliance or Wrap and Zap. That's a Pellon product. Wrap and Zap can be used in the microwave, but Embrilliance cannot, because if you look at it, I don't know if you can see it, it's got a layer of aluminum foil looking stuff in there. It's not foil, that's the part of it that, you know, makes it so you don't burn your hands. Anyway, yeah, so let's get started on this, and these stitch out real quick. They're perfect little gifts for neighbors, or, you know, my son said, "Oh, you're making potholders?" You know what's coming after that, right? You know, if you don't know somebody's color scheme in their kitchen, don't worry about it. Just make it out of whatever fabric you have. Can you imagine if somebody were to give you a set of homemade potholders and you said, "Oh, they don't match my kitchen." They wouldn't be your friend. So you make them out of whatever you want and gift them to whoever you want. So sometimes that's hard. I know people say, "Oh, I don't know what their kitchen style is." It doesn't matter. It's a gift, and it's a gift from the heart. So these are really easy to stitch out. If you're a beginner embroiderer, you'll be able to do this. Now you need a minimum of an 8x8 hoop. So let's get to this. Let me show you what you need to make this project. To make the project, you're going to need your instructions, and this is for set 2 right here. You're going to need to put batting inside your hoop. You do not use stabilizer. So all you need to do is hoop a piece of batting. This is Hobbs 80/20. This is a great use of batting scraps. You're going to need a piece of fabric that is 7x9 for the main front part of the potholder. You're going to need your front top fabric, that's 3.5x9. You're going to need back fabric, A, that is 7.5x9, and back fabric B, that is 7.5x9. This one is folded in half, wrong sides together. It has an envelope back, and I'm going to show you how I close mine up. You'll need a 9x9 piece of Embrilliance. You'll need a firm cutting surface. I like to use the Quilter's cut and press and keep it in my lap and cut on my lap. You're going to need a 6-inch piece of 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch grosgrain ribbon. You're going to need some curved embroidery scissors, and you're going to need some tape. I will link to all of these products below the video. Okay, we're ready to get started. I am at the Luminaire, and I'm going to touch the screen, and I'm going to go to Embroidery, and I'm going to go to the Pocket for Memory. And I sent this over wirelessly, so I'm going to hit the wireless button. And I'm going to look for my potholder by scrolling down. There it is right there, potholder flowers. That's it. I'm going to hit set and embroidery. It's that simple. Okay. When you're looking at your screen, I'm sorry for the glare, guys. Let me lift this up a little bit. When you're looking at your screen, it gives you the finished dimension, which is 7.74 by 7.73. It has 5,062 stitches. It has 10 color changes, and it says it will take it says it will take 8 minutes. The actual stitch time is 8 minutes. And then in here, you get the layout that tells you what stitch is about to be stitched next. And then down here, it tells you that the first one is going to be 1 minute, the second one is 1 minute, and so on. Now, the only stitches that are seen in this design are the cross-hatching stitches and the red work stitches at the top. I'm going to do all of that in the same thread color, so I am not going to change my threads at all. I have a matching thread up here on top, and I have got it already loaded into the machine. So I'm going to load my hoop into the machine. You want to make sure that you have a pretty good hooping on this. You don't want to have any droop going on. It just needs to be in there fairly taut. I'm going to slide it in here, put this in, and push the button down there. It's going to move the embroidery frame around, it's telling me. So I'm going to tell it okay. All right, we are ready to go, and the first stitch is going to be the placement line. Well, first thing I need to do is thread the needle. That would be helpful. Oh, if you guys ever do that, you do anything where you need to go backwards a little bit, on most machines there is a needle plus and minus button. I'm going to hit this, and because this is the very first stitch, I'm just going to go back to 0 and hit that. I'm going to thread my needle. I hope this is not an indicator of things to come. Here we go. You need to put your main fabric, let's see, how do I want this? You've got a placement line right here for your top part, so you're going to want to cover this by about 1/2 inch and put your fabric on there, and you're going to want to tape the fabric down so it doesn't get a mind to move anywhere. And I'm just going to tape it on the outside out here. Now we're going to tack down the main fabric. Okay, we're going to remove the hoop and trim away this top seam allowance that's right up here. This is the seam allowance that's next to the top part of the potholder. You don't want to trim. We just trimmed the top part of the potholder. Let me turn this around so you can see it. We just trimmed across the top. Don't trim on the sides, okay? And put the hoop back in the machine. Now it's going to do the all over stitching. remove the hoop so you can see this a little bit better. You want to take the fabric you're going to use for the top and lay it face down. You can't tell because this is a solid piece, but you want to put your fabric face down, and if it is directional, pay attention. Kind of lift it up and make sure it's going to be going the right way. And then you want to even up the edges of the top fabric with the bottom fabric right there. And the outside edges about the same distance outside of ½ inch outside of the line on either side. And you want to tape it down. It doesn't go anywhere. Fabric gets a mind of its own during embroidery sometimes, and it will just go out for a walk when you're not looking. Okay, we're going to put that there and slip my hoop back in. These are so simple. Very easy to do. Okay, now it's going to do a tack down stitch for that fabric. Okay, now you want to remove the tape. You can reuse it, maybe. Let's see, depends on how fuzzy it is. Let me get this piece off over here. And you want to fold this back. You might have to remove the hoop, but fold it back over the stitching. I need to move this down. And kind of just with your nail, you can crease it, fold it back nice and flat, and then take your tape and tape it again right about ½ inch over the edge, and that will keep it in place. That looks good. Now it's going to do a tack down stitch around the top. And now it's going to do the flower design. Isn't that pretty? Okay, step 7 is where we are. It's going to make a couple of stitches that are placement lines for a hanging loop. So you're going to take your grosgrain ribbon or twill tape or something like that and put the ends together and put it up here about ½ inch over where the stitches are, the placement stitches. And you're going to want to tape this down. Let me see. You don't want to tape it where the needle's going to go. You just want to tape, sorry, I'm going to get my hand out of the way. Tape that down there, and then you're going to take another piece of tape and you want to tape this down so it stays out of the way for the remainder of the stitching process. Sorry for all the racket in the back. My husband's out in the shop building things. Okay, now it's going to tack down these stitches. Alright, you want to remove the hoop from the machine, and now we're going to put on the insole bright. So you can see where the outline of the potholder is, and you want to put your Embroidery, it doesn't matter how it goes, but just cover all of the stitching everywhere. And then I recommend you use enough tape that you tape all 4 sides down, just like a 1/4 of an inch over on the Embroidery, but tape all 4 sides down. When the embroidery hoop is moving around on the machine, it's very easy for anything that's on the bottom to get folded up and bent, and that will make a big mess of your project, and you don't want to do that. So it's just better safe than sorry. Now we're going to put the hoop back into the machine. It's going to do a tack down, and we're going to take it back out and trim away the excess Embroidery. Also, a word of caution. If you have done the loop, holder loop right there, the hanging loop, take a piece of tape and cover right there. Cover that so that the foot will not get caught up under that. That will cause a big problem if you don't do that. Cost me $125 last time I did that. See, even then. Okay, I'm going to cut my threads. We almost had a disaster again. I caught it. I think it's okay. I'm going to leave it as is because the final stitch when we put the backing on is going to cover that up. So I'm going to back up about 10 stitches. I think that that will be okay right there. Okay, remove the hoop from the machine, and now we're going to remove these outer pieces of tape. Oh, that was a lesson learned. Go ahead and leave this tape down so it doesn't get caught up on inside of anything. Okay, flip it over and remove all the tape from the back. And then you want to take your curved scissors and trim around the Embroidery. Now you want to place your backing pieces on. And so you're going to take the piece that you folded in half. You want to put it at the top and put it on here. And you want to make sure you've covered this top line by at least 1/2 inch. I'm going to take some tape and I'm going to tape it down here so the needle doesn't go through it. It stays in place. And then you're going to take your other piece and you're going to put it on. Put a piece of tape here. Piece of tape here. Okay, now it's going to do the last stitch. A little bit of a bubble there. I'm going to fix that. This is one of those seam rippers my husband makes. This is the necklace one. So these things are great. I'm just going to get a stitch started here, and then you lay it down and hold the fabric taut and just push it along. Embroidery is one of the most recoverable of all of the crafts. So I do not want that fabric to bunch up like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and tape it where I want it to be. And That should be okay. Let's go from here. And we're all done. Ready to remove it from the hoop. Easy fix. What you want to do is flip it over, and you want to trim away the batting from the fabric. You don't want that batting in your seam allowance because it's pretty thick. Okay, now we're ready to go over to the cutting table, and I'm going to trim all of these at 1/4 inch all the way around the outside seams. Let me remove this tape. And I'm trimming 1/4 inch away from this line right here, this outside stitching line. All right, now I'm going to put the corners at a 45-degree angle. All right, now I'm just going to flip it. Put my thumb in the corner. Push it out. Oh, that looks great. Now I'm going to close this up permanently right here. I'm going to use a piece of stitch witchery. This is 1/2 inch wide stitch witchery. And I just like my projects closed so they don't flop open or get food up under there or whatever. So I'm just going to, you know, kind of eyeball the length and trim it right here. And then you just want to slip it up inside so you cannot see the glue, just barely under the edge to seal that in. This stuff is magic. I love it. This is a permanent solution, so it will not come undone even in the wash. There we go. That looks good. Give it a good shot of steam. Hold it for about 10 seconds. This is the Sapporo 527 gravity fed iron. This iron is favored by garment seamstresses. I love it. It never spits on your project because it doesn't have water in it. All right, we are done. That looks great. Oh, you guys, that's cute. Okay, I got to make one more of these for a gift. Okay, so these turned out just as cute as they could be. Look, isn't that adorable? I absolutely love this. Some of you may recognize this fabric. It is from the Creative Notions subscription. And when I had decided to make some pot holders for a gift for a friend of mine, I thought, you know what? This is perfect for that. So I'm just really, really pleased with it. All right, I've got several more to make. I will let you know the second one, when I wasn't talking through it and I was, you know, prepared and everything was going along, I whipped it out in about 12 minutes. So it's really fast. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe so we can visit more often. If you are interested to see how I changed up the design using Embrilliance Essentials, stick around and you'll see that at the end of this video. We'll talk to you soon. Go sew something. Bye. I want to show you how easy it can be to manipulate designs inside of Embrilliance Essentials. I have my 9x14 hoop opened up in a brand new blank tab in Embrilliance. You can see the hoop size down here in the bottom. It tells me it's my 9x14. And if you want to change your hoop, you can come up to the top menu and hit Edit, and all the way down at the bottom to Preferences. And here's where you can change your hoop. You just choose the format that your machine uses. So this works with every type of embroidery machine, and it will give you a list of hoops that work with your machine. If what you have is not listed, you can come right here and click on New, and then you can give it a name and put in the width and the height. I'm going to hit Cancel and Cancel. So inside of my embroidery folder, I'm going to come down here to the yellow folder on the taskbar at the bottom of the screen. And I have in my embroidery folder, I have a folder called Kitchen. And inside of that, I have my pot holders from Designs by JuJu. I'm going to open this up and let you see it. So we have a crosshatch design with apples We have a diamond crosshatch with some waves. We have stippling with little butterflies, and we have straight line quilting with little flowers. Well, I want this crosshatch design, but I don't want the apples. I want the flowers on it instead. So I'm going to hit this little box right here and make this window smaller. And I'm going to highlight the one that I want. And I'm just going to put my mouse on it and hold the mouse key down and drag it over into Embrilliance. And there it is. Okay. So let's take a look at this. Over here in the Objects panel, and if you cannot see the Objects panel, you need to come up to the top menu and go to View, Toolbars and Windows, and then check to make sure that there is a check mark next to Object Window and Properties Window. You need both of those. That's very handy. So when I open this up, if I come over here, you see the plus sign, and then you have all of the steps that were made as part of the design. And you can see that the digitizer used Floriani for their colors. Well, I have Isocord as set as my preferred thread. So I'm going to highlight the very top part, which selects the entire design. And when you click on that and highlight the entire design, now you can see color and stitches and notes. I want to go to color, and you can click on thread, and here you can choose all of your thread types, which there's tons of different thread types in here. And you choose the one that you want to use as your preferred, if you want to do that. You don't have to. And then click the Use this as my preferred brand and click OK. You can do that, or see, it changed all of my colors and it matched them up pretty good to what the Floriani color is, and it did it automatically for me. So that's very handy to have that like that. If you just open up the design, you can just click the preferred button like this over right here, and it will change all your colors without having to click on thread and go through all that. Okay, so let's take a look at the design. I'm going to click off of it just on the screen anywhere. And here you can not, if you click up here, you'll select all, but if you go down here, you'll select each individual stitch. And when you highlight each individual stitch, you can see it here on the screen. And so we can go down and click these. Okay, there's the cross hatching. I want to keep that. I really like that. And I'm going to go on down and keep clicking. Sometimes you can see it has a little picture, but it's kind of hard to see sometimes. So there's the apples, and I don't want those. I want to switch those out. So you don't want to remove them yet, because you need to know where they are in the sequence of the design. So I'm going to open a new tab now, and you can go File and New Page, but I just like to use the icons. I'm just going to click New, and it opens a brand new tab. And now I'm going to come down here to my Potholders folder again, and I'm going to grab the one that I want the flowers from. I'm just going to hold my mouse down and drag it onto the screen. And once again, if you click the plus sign, you can open this up, and you can see the construction of this one is identical to the other one, with the exception of the cross hatching and the quilting part there, and the embellishment design. Now, if you right click on this, all you can do is move that particular part of the design up and down in the stitching sequence. I don't want to do that. But if I click on it and I bring my cursor over to the flower element itself, I can right click on it and copy. Now I'm going to go back to my other one, and anywhere on the screen, I'm going to go right click, paste. And it pasted it exactly where it needs to be in the design. And you can see here now we have, here's the potholder main one that we did with the apples, and then here's the second one that is just that flower embellishment stitching. Well, I really don't want to mess with where it is on the screen too much, so I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard, and I'm just going to slide it over out of the way. So now I need to get rid of the apples. And the reason I told you to wait on that is because you want to make sure that you put the new change right where it needs to go in place of the apples. So I'm going to minimize this and collapse this menu, and not on the words, but on the picture. There is a picture there. You want to grab it and drag it up and hover it over the one you want it to be under. So I'm going to hover it over 1/6 and let go. And now we have 1/6 is my apples, and then here are the flowers. That's right. That's what I'm looking for. So now I know the flowers are going to stitch out in the same sequence. So now I can come up here to the apples, and I just hit delete on my keyboard. And then I'm going to highlight my flowers. And again, I'm going to use my arrow keys and just slide it back over. You can see the little center handles stay on the center line. And this looks real good. I'm going to use my scroll button on my mouse and get in here and make sure it looks pretty good. I could maybe go one more. That looks great. I think that looks real good. There we go. It has been changed. Now I have my cross hatching and my flowers, and I think that's just too cool. Now that I'm all finished with my design, I'm going to go File, Save Stitch File As, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it here in my kitchen folder. And depending on the style or brand of machine that you have, you can hit this little drop down arrow down here and you choose the file type that your machine uses. So this works with every type of home embroidery machine. So mine is PES, and I'm going to call it Potholder Flowers, and save. Now I want to send it to the embroidery machine, and if you have the Solaris or the Luminaire, you can come up here to Utility, Send to Solaris XP1. This also works if you have the XP2. That's the Luminaire. I'm going to call it Potholder. I'm just going to call it PH Flowers and tell it OK. And it says file sent to the machine. OK. If you need to transfer your design by USB, now that you have saved it, you can come down here to your taskbar, and I'm going to go to the kitchen folder, and I have mine up here on details, and I like details because it allows me to sort all of my files alphabetically like this, or date modified. And if I click date modified, it changes the date order so that they all show up. There's my Potholder Flowers. Over here, I'm going to, because that's the last one I edited, I'm going to come down here to my US where I can see my USB drive, and I'm just going to grab it with my cursor and just drag it over here and drop it on there. And so now, there it is, Potholder Flowers. Alternatively, you can just go File, Save Stitch File As, and hit this drop down and find your USB drive. And then you can save it here. So we've already done that, so I'm going to click cancel. This is ready to stitch out.